Hello everybody! Today's video is me showing you all of my favorite kitchen appliances. This is a collab with Challice from Sodbuster Living. I will have the link for her video down in the description box, so make sure you go check out all of her favorite things from her kitchen. And let's get started. If you've been around here very long, you can see in my videos that my kitchen is not very big and I don't have a ton of storage space. Because of this, the things that I keep in my kitchen are things that I actually use. So every appliance that you see today is something that I use every single day or every single week, and it is something that I find beneficial for my family. If you see anything in this video that you're interested in, I will leave some links down in the description box. Some of these items may not be available anymore, but I will try to find the closest product that I can to what I have and then leave a link for that. I use this electric kettle every single day, as does my husband, and we actually use it multiple times a day. I got it as a Christmas gift and it is so helpful. It boils water super fast and it has an automatic shut off. Once it comes to a boil, it will shut itself off so that you don't lose all your water from boiling it away. But this is the first thing I wanted to share with you because it is really helpful for us in the morning to make hot water quickly. The second thing I wanted to share is my cookbook stand. I got this as a Christmas gift from my oldest son this last Christmas and I love it. It keeps my cookbooks up off the counter, which is really helpful when I don't have a lot of counter space and I'm trying to bake and mix things, and I've got bowls and a mixer and the wheat grinder and all the things out on the counter. It's nice to be able to have my cookbook up on something, and it also keeps the cookbook open to the page that I need it to be on, and it keeps it from getting dirty because it's not laying on the counter where all the ingredients are. The next thing I wanted to share with you was my wheat grinder. This is something that I use often. I did take a break for a little while from this just because I don't have a lot of counter space and it's kind of big and takes up some space, but I've decided to get back into grinding my own grains. And the reason I choose to do that is because whole grains are a dietary source of many vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and a multitude of phytochemicals. They also provide complex carbohydrates as well as lots and lots of soluble and insoluble fiber. When white flour is made, the bran and the germ are lost, which removes the most nutrient-dense portion of the grain. This takes out more than 30 nutrients and lots of the phytochemicals. The enrichment process requires that only 3 of the B vitamins and iron be restored to commercially milled white flour. I am definitely not a whole grains or nothing girl. If you've been around here for long, you know that I use all-purpose flour often in my kitchen. When I can, I choose to combine the whole grain, fresh milled flour along with all-purpose flour. By doing this, it helps me to keep costs down. I can get all-purpose flour for free right now, and it keeps our grocery budget lower. But I do enjoy the process of grinding my own flour and knowing that my family is eating real healthy food, which is good for them. My electric grinder is a little bit loud, but it doesn't take very long for it to turn the fresh grains into flour. This mill turns the grain into flour, and then it puts the flour into this bowl that pulls out from the bottom. There is a little filter in the bowl that just helps to keep the dust from going all over the place. And then there's this little cup on the bottom that you have to clean out after you make flour. but the flour always turns out really nice, and you can grind all kinds of grains in here. You cannot do any seeds because they have a high oil content, and you cannot do oatmeal because it's not hard enough, but anything else you can use for making flour. I often use soft wheat berries and hard wheat berries. I've done popcorn to make cornmeal. I've also used oat grouts to make oat flour. I've done rice to make rice flour. So there's a lot of options. The next product that I use often is my mixer. This is a Bosch mixer that my husband bought me several years ago when we were moving into our camper. It has several attachments. It's got the cookie dough attachments, it's got some whisks, and it's also got the dough, like the bread dough attachment to knead the dough, a kneading dough hook, I guess is what you would call it. And I use this thing all the time. It holds a ton of flour, and I can make a big batch of something like bread or cookies or whatever it is that I'm making. The attachments hook onto a metal piece in the middle, which is really nice, but you do have to be careful because like these cookie paddles are plastic themselves, and this is actually my second set of cookie paddles because I broke the first one by trying to mix something that was too thick for them. But this thing is held up. I've had it for over 6 years, I think, and I use it very, very often. It used to sit on my countertop, but right now I just don't have room for it. And then you also can take that middle part out and be able to clean the inside out really well. Everything comes apart to clean it up really good. My mixer also has a blender attachment on it, and this is dirty. I've not used this thing in years, but it was really handy when we lived in our camper that it combined two appliances into one, and I was able to use the blender and the mixer with just one thing sitting on my countertop. But it does work fairly well. The blender only has blades at the bottom of the pitcher cup instead of all the way up like my Ninja blender does that I use now. But that's just another added feature of this Bosch mixer. Next up is my ice cream maker. This has been a lifesaver for my husband and I. While we're doing the carnivore diet, we're able to make some carnivore ice cream that has no sugar in it and is still so delicious. And we can do this pretty quickly. It takes about 15 minutes for my machine to turn it into ice cream, turn the cream into ice cream for us. I like to keep the bowl in the freezer all the time so that I can make ice cream as soon as I want. It doesn't have to, I don't have to wait hours for my bowl to freeze. It's already frozen, and then I'm able to just pop it on the ice cream maker, pour in the liquid, and turn it on. After about 10 or 15 minutes, we have yummy ice cream that keeps us from feeling like we're missing out. The next appliance I want to show you is my Ninja blender. I have had this thing, I think, for 6 years. I did a first use video of this several years ago when I first got it. It has lasted us a long time, and it is used on a daily basis. Most of the time we use this individual cup to blend things up because we use it a lot for smoothies. I use it when I'm making gravy. I use it when I make ranch dressing. And so it gets a lot of use. The individual cup gets a lot of use. It also came with a food processor, and I have the lid. I just couldn't reach it in the cupboard. And I use this fairly often. It's so easy to make dough or my chicken pizza crust that I do. Just mixes everything up really well, and it slips on here just like the big pitcher blender does. What I like about this is that it has these blades on the inside that go down the whole length of the pitcher instead of just at the bottom. And so it mixes and blends things up really, really well. It also is a big pitcher, 9 cups, and that's good for our large family. When I'm making all of the kids a big smoothie, I will use this to add the ingredients to, and that way I don't have to make several smoothies using the little cup, and I can make them all at once. So it has several settings. It has a Nutra Ninja blend. I like to use this one when I'm doing the individual cup because it'll start and stop on its own for a certain amount of time. It has a pulse button, high, medium, and low, and it also has frozen drinks and smoothies. So these 2 buttons and these 2 buttons are programmed, so you just push them and you're able to walk away, and then you can shut it off at any time. And then the last one I have to show you today, I do have a couple more actually that I'm not sharing. One is my egg steamer, which works fantastic and I love it. I will put a link for it down in the description. It makes amazing boiled eggs, super, super simple to use, and really cool. But the last one I want to show you is my bread maker. I did a ton of research before I bought this bread maker. I knew I could not afford a $300 bread maker, and I had all of the Christmas money that I got. I wanted to buy a bread machine that would make a big enough loaf for our family and had 2 paddles in the loaf pan. So this is the one I chose, the West Bend. I don't know if it has any, you know, a certain name or anything, but it's got a big 3-pound loaf pan on the inside, and it has 2 paddles. As you can see, there's 2 spots for paddles, and that is helpful in making sure that your dough gets mixed up really well and there's no dough stuck to the sides or flour left in the corners that didn't get mixed in. The other thing I really like about this is that it has a timer on it. So I can put the ingredients in my dough or in the pan and set it all up for what I want. I can push the timer button and then it won't start mixing anything until the timer is ready. So if I put the ingredients in before we leave for church, but I don't want, you know, it takes 3 hours to make 1 loaf. I don't want it to be done right away. I want it to wait and be fresh for when we get home. I can set my timer so that it'll start 3 hours before we get home, and we will have a fresh loaf of bread to eat after church. So I really, really like that. I can do that overnight. Also, you can add everything in, set your timer. When you wake up in the morning, you've got a fresh loaf of bread for breakfast. And I haven't experimented a ton. I do use the recipe out of the book that this came with, but I am gonna try to start working on making maybe some sourdough bread in here and seeing how that works out. It also has a mix option here that you can just mix. There's also a dough option that just makes the dough, cake, custom, a bake option if you need to add extra time to your bread, basic, French, whole wheat, sweet, super rapid, sandwich, gluten-free. So lots of options with this machine. I have not had any problems with it at all. I really, really like it. I actually joke every time I make bread that I need to get another one because the kids eat the bread so quickly out of this one machine, and sometimes it seems like it's not enough for our large family to just have 1 loaf. It would be really nice to have a couple of these same machines that I can set them up at the same time and have 2 loaves of bread done at the same time. So anyway, this is my last appliance to share with you today. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of my favorite kitchen appliances. Remember, there are links for each of these down in the description box. Let me know in the comments what your favorite appliance is, and I will see you all tomorrow with another video. Bye-bye.